Right, they both came right on. Hey, everybody. Happy Saturday. Sorry, I'm so tired. Happy Saturday. Welcome. My name is Nathan Goheen. This is Anne-Marie. So today is a full moon, which means that I'll be releasing a piece of music later today, and I'll try to put the link into the description when it happens. And let's see here. Oh, also in the description is my Venmo. If you like the little discussion today, we definitely appreciate any support, financial, comments, subscribes, likes, shares, all that stuff. And there's also Anne-Marie's information in the description, her website, and there's a link to her YouTube, I believe, as well. So check all of that out. Let's see here. A quote that definitely caught my attention this week is by Henri Matisse. And when was that guy painting? 1900s?
Oh, I'm really bad with those kinds of things. Sorry.
I mean, it's 1900s sometime.
Sorry.
Probably.
I should know these things.
The first half of the 1900s. Anyways, this quote was, color was not given to us in order that we should imitate nature. It was given to us so that we can express our emotions. So the reason why I ask when he was painting is because I think that in addition to everything that's going on in that quote, I think there's a part of it that kind of hints about the history of art. And we can maybe get into that a little bit later, but I showed the quote to Anne-Marie about 2 minutes before we went live, and she said, "Nice." So I want to jump right in and ask her why she said that.
Oh, okay. I said that because I think we tend to want to replicate nature, specifically in science. That's how we learn. We study nature, we study something that's already occurring in nature, and then we try to understand it and replicate it in the laboratory. And with art, I thought that was nice because with color, you don't need to try to replicate the colors you see in nature. You can now use them to express how you're feeling. And to me, that is a cornerstone, or can be a cornerstone, of expressing yourself through art.
Okay. There's one word that you said that caught my ear. You said, now. We can now use color. Meaning that at some point, maybe...
Yeah, at some point, I think we were just trying to replicate nature through, because I remember early on with my artistic endeavors, I wanted to replicate nature. Landscape portrait artists, artists that painted people wanted to replicate what they were seeing, and then you went into the Picassos of the world and abstract aspects of the artistic world, and then color became about something else, and we're continuously trying to express ourselves through the color, through even the shapes that we use, right, and the way that we interact with the material.
Okay.
So it's evolving.
Mm-hmm. It is evolving. And I want to keep my thoughts organized here, because okay, I guess we should go with the historical thing. So it used to be people were painting nature, right?
Yeah, to get a skill of how to replicate nature through painting. Because that's what photography does, right? You take a photograph, it should replicate what you're taking a picture of.
Right.
But then before photography, we were trying to do it through paintings.
Right.
You would do a portraiture of someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, even portrait artists started to try to go beyond just the replication of an image, but like to look into someone's soul and paint that as the portrait of them.
Interesting. So it was almost like they kind of maybe did that, like, I don't know, maybe in a subversive way, because like if you're I don't know, Rembrandt, and you get hired by some noble person to paint their portrait, right? I mean, part of it is going to be they want to see exactly what they look like, right?
Yeah, with some touch-ups. Like, I don't think that's the vanity has changed.
No, I agree with you that they definitely wanted to Photoshop some of it.
Yeah, old school Photoshop.
But at the same time, I think that the reason why he has had such lasting impact on us is his ability to put his personal feelings within that painting, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I think the artist evolves and they want to do something else. They want to change the way they do their technique. I don't think it's the person whose portrait is being painted that's changed. I think it's the artist who's changed. They're like, I've been doing this for quite some time. I can mimic someone who's sitting in front of me, but can I go on another level and put more depth into this?
Right.
And that's what sometimes has a lasting effect. Although technique is beautiful. Like, I've seen people do some techniques where they can replicate someone. I'm like, wow. But it's just like, for the moment, it's beautiful, but it's not long lasting where you remember it and you can go into an in-depth analysis of that portrait.
Right. Sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay.
So the techniques, I mean, don't you think that technique is like, it's one of those things that you get as much of it as you can and then try not to get trapped by it?
Yeah. And I think it's some artists want to evolve beyond that, whether it's music, art, painting, acting, dancing, and then you break into different sects or different areas within of that community where you're expressing yourself differently, but the technique and the foundation is still there. Like, there are artists that I know who have a traditional technique, but they are abstract artists because they've evolved beyond the technique of copying something and then putting it on a canvas. So now they're using that technique to express another level or more in-depth expression of their art.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
That's why I think it's always important to learn the basics.
Yeah. I mean, you always want to learn as much as you can. You always want to learn as much as you can, but you also always want to put in the emotions.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, you want to put in the emotions, but I think your work will have more depth if you know color theory, if you know composition, if you that's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah, for sure. Looking at that very specific quote of Matisse's, though, I can't help but wonder that some of it was just like the time frame of where the art community was at in the world, moving away from the form of nature into more like made up shapes almost.
Yeah, expressing it. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think maybe art had become kind of stale because everybody kept trying to replicate nature, and then Matisse came in and said, let's think about it differently. Let's think about the pigment that you're using, not only possibly as a way to paint nature, but also a way to express yourself on a different level.
So,
And
go
so
ahead.
that's what I meant about, like, within a community of artists, different sects break out, or different ideas, or different, the word is escaping me right now, break out, that evolve into different trends or different ideas of what that community is about.
So then it almost sounds like this is a cyclical thing in your mind?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure, for sure.
Okay.
Because there'll be a point where you forget that. I think there will be a point where we forget that the paint is about expressing our emotions, and then we go into something else, and then we go into something else, and it just becomes so broad that we have to come back to replicating nature and understanding it again in order to kind of go, in order to find our center again. So it's always the pendulum swinging from extremes to bring us back to center.
Do you think that I'm trying to figure out, do you think that this is something that humans have always dealt with, or do you think that there was a very specific, or maybe not so specific, but a gradual change to where the function or the purpose of art changed?
Well, I it's hard for me to say because you have cave art paintings,
Right.
and I really still to this day don't know what was about. Was it about just telling a story and having a pictorial imagery so that others could understand it? Or was it art? That I don't know, but so I would probably go with it was a gradual change as we became more, I don't want to say the word evolve, but as we got more advanced in certain ways, it's gradually going to push us towards changing our perspective and our philosophy about subjects and ideas and concepts.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I gotta imagine that storytelling is a big part of art, right?
Visual art, yeah, for sure.
Visual art
And yeah.
and music, for sure. Like like the those Homer epics, like the Odyssey and the Iliad. Those were set to music originally. As to my understanding, I'm not a huge buff on those, but I think that was the thing, is that those were set to music, and that's probably what helped people retain the words. Kind of like how when you're a kid you learn your ABCs by singing the song. So there are stories linked into the art, or messages linked into the art, and I think it's just interesting what ingredients are in there. There's the emotional ingredient, there's the message ingredient, and there's probably like the survival ingredient, the communication ingredient. In cave art, maybe it's like, here's where the buffalo are in the winter, so here's where we go. And then when the buffalo move in the summer, we go with them over here. Who knows what the message is. But,
Yeah.
but I think that's all in there. I think it's interesting what kind of rises to the top in order of importance.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I would agree it's a gradual progression or a gradual change.
Yeah. So if Matisse was saying this, and I should have checked the dates, we'll call it the early 20th century. What is the next? What's the next sentence in that quote?
What do you mean?
Color wasn't given to us to imitate nature. It was given to us so that we can express our emotions. What's after that? What's after emotions?
So open up yourself to expressing your experience through color.
I'm not making myself clear.
Okay.
So if he's saying that we have this whole new world open to us in terms of emotions that we can use art for, what is the Matisse of the 21st century going to say? How would he say that instead of expressing our emotions, what is the next thing that we should express with art? I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Because to me, this quote seems more like a critique of his time
Right.
than just, a quote. Yeah, I guess all quotes are a critique or something. But yeah, to me, this seems more like a critique of his time. And then to me, the next sentence would be about discourse with other artists about how they express themselves, with color.
Yeah.
Or with art.
Yeah.
And then we go into like the extreme abstract where somebody hangs a toilet bowl in a museum and that's art.
Right.
Maybe they're expressing, excuse my French, the shit in their lives, or the places that we put the things that we don't desire within ourselves, like in a bowl, in a vessel. That is like,
and then put that in, and then put that on display for everyone to see.
Yeah. Here's my vessel of shit.
That's very bold.
Yeah, and then maybe this is where this quote is going. Be bold. It's like,
be bold in your emotional expression.
Yeah, be bold in your artistic, expression. It's not just about mimicking nature, but it's about being bold. It's another tool for you to express an aspect of yourself, not just to replicate.
Yeah. Maria wrote something in there that I like. She says, I love when nature uses me to express itself in art. So,
and I would agree with that. Like, we are, if you think about it, an expression of nature's art. Everything within nature.
Yeah, you can't really remove yourself from it.
No, you're part of it. And the more we learn, is the more we understand how connected these things are. And sometimes I'm just really fascinated by how intricate our systems are, and how delicate they are at the same time, and how nature has convoluted or brought this whole thing in about that you and I can be here. The little hedgehog can be here. The flower can be there. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is.
And it's all ACTG, whatever, like the DNA, nucleotides. It's just a few of them. Sorry.
Sorry, you lost me there.
ACTG. It's the DNA nucleotides.
Okay, cool.
All right, sorry.
No, you don't need to apologize. I mean, it's my inability to understand what you're talking about. So
No,
it's
I
my
shouldn't
ignorance.
be bringing that up. But my point is, there's a few nucleotides that make up this really beautiful symphony that we call nature, that we call life. It's not very complicated, and I think sometimes we overcomplicate things when we're trying to replicate nature. And maybe, in I can't think of the word, to Matisse, it's just like, let's just express, and it doesn't have to be something really complicated. It can be really simple as expression.
Yeah, fair enough. Just get it out there and let it be.
Yeah, like a few shapes can be beautiful. It doesn't have to be a million shapes for it to be interesting.
Right. Any other thoughts?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Marie is backing you up on the DNA comment, so clearly it was me who was not understanding. So that's my fault.
No, I was talking really fast, so it's okay.
There was one other quote when I was remembering. What does that mean? What did the eye? Replicate Trump Doya? That means of the eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's Trump mean?
I forget. Maria, explain.
There was, while we're waiting for Maria to respond, there was one other quote that stuck in my mind. And I'm not sure if it's by Young or by Joseph Campbell. And the internet didn't always seem to say. Seemed to think it was Young, but definitely there are some people ascribing it to Joseph Campbell as well. Anyways, neither of that is really important. What's important is that they said, if the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. And I think this is comforting when the path gets really impossible to see. I think that's a very comforting quote. And I think that there's degrees to it. I think that, like you were saying, if you are copying somebody else's technique, I mean, there's a clear-cut path for you, and that's awesome. And you probably need that technique in your life. But you also need to apply some of your own ideas. You can't just constantly stay on someone else's path. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like I got a little bit tired there and my brain stopped working.
No, it makes great sense, I think. I think that's another fascinating quote that you picked today because, like you said, I think there are positives and negatives to this, but I also believe that sometimes it is natural to follow someone else's path, and that's okay. But it's also okay to follow your own path, and that's okay. But I think also not everyone can go on their own path and still have like a community or a society.
No.
Because then we don't have any common ground with regards to what we're trying to achieve. And to me, that is just complete chaos.
Fair enough.
Maria explained, that is illusion of reality. Being able to replicate is an illusion of reality. Maybe. Very in-depth, Maria. You've got me pondering now. I love it. Yeah, so if we're all going on separate paths, I think sometimes we don't accomplish anything. But if we have a common goal and we're following that path and it's something that we align with, then it's perfectly okay to be on someone else's path. And I don't necessarily think it's an individual path, but a group path, if that makes sense.
The group is going to paint nature. Now the group is going to paint abstract art. Yeah.
That's really great, Maria. The technique is a tool and can be shared. The vision you express with the technique is more personal. That is beautiful, Maria. I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good to me too. Get the tools and then infuse your emotion into them, I guess.
Yeah. And I think for the second quote, sorry to interrupt you, I'm thinking of maybe building a car. You might have the group ideas to build a car, to build some kind of transportation, some kind of the words escape me, I'm sorry. This transportation thing, right? And then somebody goes, whereas Maria says, you learn the technique of how to build a car, but somebody personally might want to build an electric car. Somebody personally might want to build a car that runs on gasoline. Somebody personally might build a car that flies based on how they evolve their technique and how they personalize that technique. And so to me, that is a way of following the path of the group, which is building a form of transportation and going on a different path to do it. But the end goal is still the same.
Right. You can be on many paths at the same time.
Yeah.
You can be on many paths at the same time.
Yeah. I think the trick is not to get lost with all the different diversions or dissections of the path.
Yeah, Franz Kafka, man. Evil is whatever distracts. So don't get distracted on your path.
Yeah, and that goes with like knowing yourself and knowing what your path is. You know, you don't want to follow someone else's path that leads you down to hell.
Right. No, you don't want that.
Because that happens in society. That happens in society a lot, or has happened in history. And yet we keep stepping on that pathway.
Joseph, man, you gotta stop running into those walls, man. That path isn't going anywhere. Oh man.
Bring a sledgehammer with you next time.
Oh wow, that's gangster.
Yeah, you have to.
That's a topic for a whole other conversation.
Yeah, because I don't know, like those walls can be built by you. They can be built by society, environmental things. So you got to be ready to break them down when necessary.
Or you got to just go wherever they aren't.
Yeah.
Be like water and just move to wherever you can.
Yeah. Or erode them away.
Right.
With like a huge tsunami and just overpower them. And after that, you're just eroding them away, right?
Yeah. You got options.
Yeah.
You got options.
Have to, get out of the I don't have any options kind of thing, which I've definitely dealt with.
Right. Yeah. No, we all have.
I think a few years ago, I did a podcast or I did a little live where I was talking about fear. And I think I used the analogy of the mountain being in front of you, and that may cause you fear to not climb the mountain, or that may cause you fear to see the mountain or whatever. But I think the conclusion I came to, maybe I always go back, the mountain is there to teach you what you're scared of and then to find techniques to overcome it.
Right.
It's like, oh man, I didn't know I was scared of mountains. Now I can figure out how not to be scared of mountains, or at the least figure out how to overcome a mountain.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. How to navigate.
Yeah. And maybe go through a different path. Like maybe I can dig a hole through the mountain. Like I don't have to overcome it, but and like the water, maybe I can find a way to go around it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have anything else on your mind?
No, the usual. Thank you, Maria and Joseph, for joining us.
Yeah, very much thanks.
Yeah, and commenting. Really appreciate that. And having this discourse with you guys. That's always a pleasure. Yeah, the usual. Like, share, subscribe.
Right. Like, share, subscribe. There's links to past videos, probably the video from last week, and then also from this little meditation breathing video I made. So check those out.
Yeah.
And thanks for tuning in. Tune in next Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Have a great week. Happy Easter tomorrow. C'est ça?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And I definitely think Campbell was influenced by Jung, so I wouldn't be surprised that the internet would be confused about who said that quote.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. How could he not be? What does that say? I told some friends about a lady that has a piece of the Berlin Wall at a shelf in their living room. They were not impressed. What to do with it?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. A piece of the Berlin Wall. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't
Just,
know.
I guess, let it sit there. It's, I don't know, art in history, history in art, or something like that. That piece of wall is, in a way, could be made into a piece of art that represents a historical something. It doesn't, yeah,
Yeah, no.
it could be a fascinating story,
It's fascinating already.
you know?
Yeah. It's fascinating already. It doesn't need
So-
anything else.
Yeah,
But,
for sure.
okay.
Alrighty.
We'll see you all next week.
Next week. Thank you for joining us. Take care.